This conference will now be recorded.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for being late. I live in Austin, so it can take me 30 minutes one day to get home or over an hour, which is what happened today. So I know she gave a little introduction about myself. I have my PhD in nutrition. I'm a registered and licensed dietitian, and I currently work at Dell Medical School, working for the Livestrong Cancer Institute. And I was asked to present today about how to stay healthy during the holidays. And Thanksgiving is already next week. And then right around the corner is going to be Christmas, and then we're going to hit the new year. And I know there can be a lot of challenges about trying to eat well and stay active during this time. So that's what this topic is going to be about. And I'm happy to take questions related to just overall nutrition at the end as well. So what I wanted to talk about today is what are some strategies for weight maintenance during a time where there's an abundance of food and challenges about staying active, how to party smart. There's lots of holiday parties I'm sure that you've been invited to, and how to make some good choices when you're at those events. Also about holiday gift giving. Black Friday is also just around the corner, and as you think about putting together your shopping list, or what are some ways that you can also share wellness with others? And then again, happy to take any questions at the end. So you might have seen some articles claiming that people gain like 8 pounds over the holidays, but it's really actually not that much. The average weight gain from Thanksgiving to New Year's is 1 pound, okay, which isn't a lot, but what makes this significant is that what this study also found is that most people do not lose that weight. So in this 6-week period, through the extra eating and less physical activity, people gain an average of 1 pound. So what I try to focus on with individuals during this time is to not think about trying to lose weight. This is not a time to lose weight. This is the time to really enjoy and celebrate with others, but to just try to maintain your weight during this time. And so that's some of the strategies that I wanted to address today, is how can we work against this 1 pound, because this 1 pound, if it happens every year, that can add up. And also, I also think beyond weight in my approach in working with people is to think about just feeling well during this time, because also not eating well, not maintaining your usual physical activity, it makes you feel a little groggy, a little kind of more exhausted than the holidays already are. So trying to still eat well and be active can be good for helping with fatigue and just maintaining good quality of life during this time. And I think that we should enjoy our special holiday treats, and to focus on the holidays is really a time of celebration. It's often associated with spending time with your families and friends and really enjoying these events. And to not say no sugar, I'm on some sugar detox during this time, or labeling foods as good or bad. I really support that we enjoy those special holiday treats, but doing those in moderation. So some tips for this is that there's multiple celebrations that you're likely going to go to. If you think about this period between Thanksgiving and New Year's, you're probably going to 4 or 5 different parties. And to think about, well, do I really need pumpkin pie at all 3 Thanksgiving dinners that I'm going to? Right? Maybe just 1 slice at 1 party. So to think about moderation, to enjoy the holiday treats, but to not have them all the time during this period. And also smaller portions. I know that my grandma, if I let her serve me, I'm going to get a mound of food. So just doing a taste of some of the things that I like, smaller portions, and really thinking about portion control still at this time. So it doesn't mean I can't have pumpkin pie. I'm just going to have a standard serving size of that and a slice of that. And to also savor the special. So which are the truly once a year type of treats? So if someone's got a bowl of Hershey's Kisses at their table for the party, you can have Hershey's Kisses any time of the year. So do you really need that? Or what about grandma's pecan pie that she only makes for Thanksgiving? That really being a treat that you enjoy. So try to think about when you have all these treats and desserts available, like which are the ones that are really special, that you really look forward to, and then which are the ones that really you can just enjoy any time of year, and making those types of choices. So I'm saying you can enjoy the cookies, enjoy the cake, but to just kind of think of these things and keep them in mind when you're making those choices. Also, to try to find opportunities to be active. With all these events and celebration, and maybe your kids are off of school, it can be really challenging to try to stick to your usual routine. So maybe you always go to the gym right after you take your kids to school, but now they're at home all the time. So it can kind of get you off track. So instead of putting a lot of pressure on yourself to try to do all those usual things in a time where your schedule's all over the place, is to find other opportunities to be active as well. I'm in Texas, so I do not get the option to play in the snow, although we did have snow a couple years ago and that was pretty wild. But if you are around snow, to maybe go sledding, ice skating rinks, building a snowman, like being physically active doesn't mean you have to go to a gym or a workout class. It can just be enjoying movement throughout the day. Walking around at light shows. There's a street around here that the whole neighborhood decorates their homes, and people just walk along this beautiful neighborhood to look around the lights. So if you have something special like that, that's a way to get some physical activity in with your family as well. I know often at family gatherings or parties, people just stay around the table and it turns into an all-day kind of eating event. And so maybe you can suggest starting a new tradition of family games at celebrations. Maybe a game of kickball or basketball, or even just playing a game of charades. So you're focusing on movement and activity and less around food. If you've got visitors in town, that could be a good time to try a new exercise class. Maybe you've been really nervous about going by yourself or embarrassed about going by yourself, but if you go with a friend and you both look ridiculous, well, you look ridiculous together and it can be a memory. I say ridiculous because if you saw me at a Zumba class, it would be something to laugh at. So this is a good opportunity though, if someone's in town, to like, hey, they've got free Zumba class, let's go check it out. So those are just some ideas about how you can be active in times where it might be difficult to get to the gym. And then of course, I've got to put a shout out for all of the delicious fruits and vegetables that are around during the holiday season. And these are things that, for example, winter squash, we can only really get in the winter. And at this time too, they're a lot cheaper. And I just put some tips there about how to prepare winter squash. They can look really intimidating because they are like really big, different shapes, different colors, but you can use the same cooking technique for all of them. Pretty much just cut them in half, remove the pulp and the seeds, and just like pumpkins, you can actually roast most of the seeds in all of the winter squash. So here at that top corner, that's spaghetti squash. Here on the far left is, that's an acorn squash, a really large one. And that's butternut squash over here. Those are just a few. I mean, I honestly haven't even seen these, but if you've got them around you, you can just cut them in half, remove the pulp and seeds. You can put them on a baking sheet, rub that flesh with oil, season with salt and pepper, and just roast it. So literally just cut it in half, remove the seeds, and roast in the oven for 40 to 45 minutes, depending on how big the squash is. What's great about squash is that all of them are really rich in carotenoids. These are bioactive compounds in fruits and vegetables that we are learning now have anti-cancer activity, anti-inflammatory activity, good for eye health, brain health, and winter squash are really great sources of that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that awesome vegetable and variety of vegetables. Citrus, which is high in vitamin C, potassium, fiber, and also low in calories. This is a really good time to get citrus like grapefruits and oranges. Actually in the cold season, that's when they get really juicy and good. My grandparents own a citrus farm, so I know how delicious these can be during this season and also really affordable at this time. Also in the winter, leafy greens are in season, and you can do more than just turn them into kale chips or eat them in a salad. Creating like a spinach dip, putting in soups and stews. You can saute or stir fry them, throw them into smoothies. And leafy greens are really rich in vitamin K, magnesium, calcium, iron, and potassium. So thinking about incorporating these types of fruits and vegetables during the winter season, holiday season, they're very affordable and easy to prepare. And I also want to suggest that you try to stick to your usual routine as best as possible. Now, I mentioned earlier it might be more difficult if your kids are out of school and you've got visitors, but to keep some of those core things going, to continue to purchase and prepare healthy foods, trying to eat on a regular schedule, sticking to your usual schedule. And if you can't keep your usual exercise schedule, to engage in some form of physical activity daily. So trying to stick to some of your foundational daily routines is going to make it easier come January 1 to get back to that routine. And so you'll need less time to kind of readjust if you've really tried to stick to some foundational stuff of still going to the grocery store, preparing your fruits and vegetables, eating regularly, and staying physically active. So this is also a time of really rich and decadent treats. So green bean casserole, I mentioned like pumpkin pie, dips, those types of things. Well, I'd like to suggest that maybe you could modify some of those recipes to help reduce some of that calorie and fat content. Opting for a lower fat cheese when you're making a casserole. Using Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. They're very similar in taste and texture. Greek yogurt's just going to be lower fat. Using mustard instead of mayo. In most baked goods, you can substitute applesauce for some of the oil in the recipe, or using some low-cal sweeteners in baking some treats. Also think about trying a new healthy recipe. I mean, you might have always been the person that brings green bean casserole, and you can still make that green bean casserole, but maybe trying out a recipe for a different vegetable. So like Brussels sprouts, which not everyone loves Brussels sprouts, but if you add enough bacon, they taste delicious. But thinking of starting a new tradition, and if guests don't like the new recipe that you brought, there's going to be plenty of other options at that party. So maybe you experiment with a new recipe and it was a total flop. That's okay. We all learn from our mistakes, but don't put so much pressure on yourself to give it a try. Right? And then maybe it turns out to be a big win and people love the new Brussels sprouts. So starting a new tradition is a suggestion. Also, I mean, how many times have you been to a party and there have been no leftovers? I mean, never, I think, in my life have I been to a party where there's zero leftovers. And I think we could all afford to just make a little less. You can freeze those leftovers instead of eating them every day for the next week. Like you don't need green bean casserole every day for a week. So after that party, you can have some leftovers, but maybe freeze them so you can have them later and not have to continue to eat that high calorie, high fat casserole every day. So just as some suggestions about how you can still incorporate these decadent side dishes and main meals, but maybe make some modifications to reduce how much you make, reduce some of the fat, or even experiment with a new recipe. And I think this is less of a nutrition tip and more of a tip about just some self-control, right? And being more powerful in focusing on your health and being strong in what matters to you and your health and your well-being. So the art of saying no. It's okay to say no to parties you don't want to attend. You might get invitations to your next door neighbor's party and you only really say hi to them when you're taking out the trash. Like, do you really need to go to that party? Right, so thinking of protecting your time and also protecting your stress levels and your sanity and your health. So it's okay to say no to parties you don't want to attend. Especially during treatment and in survivorship, you might still be battling a lot with fatigue. And it's okay to say, I don't have enough energy to keep going to these parties, right? Also saying no to foods you don't really love. I gave that example of like Hershey's Kisses versus a pumpkin pie that's only around for you during the holidays. Like, do you really love those Hershey Kisses? I mean, some people do, but if you don't, practicing saying no to those foods and saying yes to the ones you do and really enjoy. No to eating when you're not hungry. No to guilt from indulging in life's sweet treats. Again, back to this is a special season with lots of memories and traditions around the holiday season, and it's okay to enjoy it. Don't let guilt become something that triggers into, well, I can't believe I ate that pumpkin pie, and feeling bad about yourself for the next few days or hours. That's a waste of time. You enjoyed it, you had a great time at the party and with your friends, and to move on. Also, I really encourage people to say no to engaging in conversations about diet or negative body talk. Conversations around diet, I feel like always come up about parties where people are overindulging and they're like, oh, I should really get on this diet. I'm going to start January 1. I'm so fat. I've gained so much weight. And that is such negative talk. And the holiday should be about building great memories and laughter, not talking about the things that are negative body image and perpetuating that other people should feel bad about their bodies too. So really trying to stay away from those conversations, don't engage in those conversations, change the topic, because this is not helpful for anybody, those types of conversations. Also, for healthy holidays means keeping yourself healthy physically, so boosting the immune system. Flu has already hit this area, so trying to keep your immune system as strong as it can be, because the cold is a season where lots of people get cold and the flu and upper respiratory infections. So one way to boost the immune system is exercise. And it doesn't have to be vigorous exercise, just physical activity is known to boost our immune system. Limiting exposure to germs. So when you're preparing foods, to make sure that you're washing hands, washing produce, storing food safely. You see at these buffets where people leave the turkey sitting out for like 4 hours and then people go back for thirds. Well, really, food shouldn't be sitting out for more than a couple hours. It needs to be stored if it's not going to be eaten within those 2 hours. And if you're going through treatment or in survivorship, your immune system might be reduced. And so this is really important to still practice good food safety during this time. I say if you're questioning it, you should probably stay away from it, because no one wants food poisoning during the holidays. Making sure that you're getting adequate sleep. This is a huge contributor to your immune system, as well as stress. So inadequate sleep and high stress can reduce your immune system and make you more susceptible to colds. And thinking of how many more people you might be interacting with during this time, you're increasing your exposure to germs. And then if you're not getting enough sleep and not managing your stress level well, that can make you really susceptible. You might have heard some things about like vitamin C or zinc or elderberry syrup to reduce colds or severity of colds. Now, I say this is something that could maybe boost. There's still some limited research on some of these things, but up here, these are the things that we have evidence behind: exercising, managing stress, sleeping well, eating a healthy diet. Those are the better ways to boost your immune system rather than spending money on a high dose vitamin C supplement. And so then how do we party smart? We're going to be around parties. We got Thanksgiving just around the corner. This is an interesting statistic that average Thanksgiving dinner is 3,000 to 4,500 calories in one meal. So how can we reduce that? Eating a snack before you leave home so you don't come to the party starving, because that's the time where your mind is just, give me all the things. So if you had a little snack, that can help with your appetite. Also look at all of the food options before you take any food. Look at what looks good, kind of scout it out and really focus on the good ones that you're really looking forward to. Don't graze, always put your food on a plate, use a plate, because that also helps with the overall experience of your meal. I'm socializing away from the food. So I gave some ideas about starting a family game, going outside maybe for a walk. So after you have your meal, to either put away the food or step away from the table and focus on enjoying each other rather than focusing on the meal or more food. So really eat slowly, savor the meal and the experience and the laughter and the fun, and really enjoy all those special treats. Try to choose more of the low-calorie foods. So someone brought some roasted vegetables or fruit, trying to choose more of those, limiting the servings of some of the high-calorie, high-fat dressings, creams, things that are fried, things high in cheese, have a lot of cheese. And you will thank me, because these are also foods that can increase heartburn and stomach upset. So you'll kind of feel better if you limit how much of those foods you have on your plate. Also, drinking in moderation. We know that alcohol can also kind of reduce our inhibitions, and we're more likely to go for that second piece of cake when that glass of wine is telling us it's okay. Okay, so enjoy your glass of wine or your drinks, but do so in moderation. And this is another example of, this is a good meal. It's 1,753 calories. And what they wanted to show is when you stick to the portion size, I mean, if you look at this, this is still a pretty filling meal. And this is half of what the average calorie content is for the average Thanksgiving meal. But if you stick to the portion size for each of these things, it doesn't become such a high calorie meal. I mean, 1,800 is still a lot, but it's Thanksgiving, enjoy it. But you can cut the calories in half just by watching the portion size. And then trying to think about holiday gift giving. So many times people are given bags of candies or cookies and like to bake for others, and it's an easy gift to give a lot of people, but you're not the only one giving them that gift, likely. So that's a lot for people to bring home and to have to say no to as well. So thinking about giving gifts that help share wellness, healthy cookbooks, water bottles are very affordable, or an infusion water pitcher. And what that is, it's a pitcher and then it has a little tube in there that you can put like cucumber or mint, and it can flavor the water. Maybe giving someone a gift certificate to a cooking class if you have that available in your city. A 1-month subscription to healthy food options. Around here we have produce delivery companies, and they're like $20 a month and they bring like 10 pounds of fresh produce to the door. Meal delivery kits like HelloFresh or Blue Apron or Home Chef that have some healthy meal options. There's also some delivery kits that are snack boxes and are little boxes of healthy snacks. If you're doing a gift card, instead of giving a gift card to a chain restaurant like an Applebee's or a Chili's, maybe a healthy restaurant, a smoothie shop, a coffee shop. Giving someone a gift of relaxation with a massage, facial, manicure, pedicure, or acupuncture session, or gift cards to a book. So something that they can enjoy to relax and not bringing in more food and treats to the house that some people might not need or want. Magazines used to be on this list, but I don't know, magazine subscriptions are starting to die off now. So these are some other ideas. Kind of wrapping this up with, to maintain perspective during this time, to enjoy the holidays. Overeating one day won't make or break your eating plan. It takes days of overeating to gain weight. So don't focus on the scale during this time. Enjoy this time and step away from that scale and don't let it get in your mind and ruin your experience. Negative self-talk is not productive. If you had a big holiday meal, felt like you overindulged, put it behind you. Avoid this guilt or despair and this spiral of feeling bad about indulging at a time that's about celebration and good meals. And looking at exercise for health, not punishment. I kind of hate when I see these things on the internet, like this is how many jumping jacks you'd have to do for a slice of pie. Okay, exercise is not punishment. You shouldn't be exercising to burn off eating a pie. Exercise because it makes you feel good. Exercise because it helps reduce fatigue and boosts your immune system, not because you had an extra slice of pie. Okay. And holidays are one day, so celebrate and enjoy the day. And I capitalize day because what happens is that Thanksgiving dinner turns into 3 days of leftovers, which bleeds into Christmas parties, which bleeds into Christmas Day. And so thinking of enjoying those special treats on the day or the big party that you go to, and don't let it turn into just a 3-week buffet. And also, this is not a time to diet, and avoid this dieter's mentality. Don't make plans for a diet after the new year. This anticipation of food restriction can actually foster binge type eating. You're like, well, I'm going to start my diet January 1, so I'm going to eat everything and anything I want now because January 1, I'm not going to get any of this. This is not a good relationship or a healthy relationship with food. Instead, like, I'm going to enjoy the holidays, and January 1 is just January 1, right? It's just another day. And to not think about restriction, because that can lead to this binge type eating and giving yourself permission to eat everything because you think you're not going to have any of it come January 1. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions. I post regularly on Facebook and Instagram if you'd like to follow me there, but I'm happy to answer anything you have now.
Well, thank you, Dr. Zuniga, for the great presentation. You've given us a lot to think about. I have a question.
Sure.
One of the things I've done some reading about healthy eating during the holidays, and blood sugar, keeping blood sugar maintained seems to be coming up a lot, about eating close to when you would ordinarily eat a meal, not to skip a meal because your blood sugar will be out of control, to limit alcohol in terms of your blood sugar. Why is maintaining your blood sugar at an even level so important?
That's a great question. One of our concerns about that is that when blood sugar gets really elevated, well, then it's going to drop. And when it gets really elevated, that drop can make you feel more fatigued. And so if we keep more of a steady blood sugar level, we have this steady source of energy throughout the day, rather than these rises and falls, because those rising and falls can result in these cycles of feeling fatigued. Some people experience headaches when the blood sugar drops too quickly. So trying to maintain a more regular blood sugar can help with having sustained energy, reducing feelings of fatigue as well. So yeah, that's a great tip, is to try, and why I recommended trying to eat on your regular schedule is because that's something that can help maintain your energy levels. And also when blood sugar drops, people can get really hungry or hangry, being the word. And so that's not at a time where you're making the best choices, right? When you're really hungry, your blood sugar is low, and so your brain's like, feed me anything, feed me now. And so those are times where we're less likely to make the healthier choice.
Does anyone else have a question? Okay, well, I have a couple more questions. I had read something about the 80-20 rule. You try to eat nourishing food 80% of the time. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, not just during the holidays, but most days or most of the year, is that if most of your diet and the foundation of your diet is healthy foods, that 20% of those treats or that glass of wine is really negligible in comparison to what you're doing most of the time. So if most of your meals are full of vegetables, lean proteins, lower in fat, and then you had a slice of pumpkin pie, most of your meal was very nutritious and giving your body the nutrients that it needs. So yeah, I'm definitely an advocate for that moderation, that we're doing good 80% of the time, 20% is a good budget for some of those treats.
Another thing that I was suggesting that you take probiotics during the holiday season to boost your immunity. What are your thoughts about that?
That's a great question. So probiotics are living organisms, and they've gotten a lot of attention lately because there's new research coming out all the time. But I say we're really not ready for prime time general recommendations for probiotics. Probiotic supplements are generally just the type of bacteria that these companies can grow and put into a capsule. It does not necessarily mean that this is a bacteria that has a particular health benefit in somebody. Probiotic supplements also tend to be very expensive. We still don't know how much of that bacteria actually ends up in the intestine and has a health benefit. But what we do know about the gut microbiome, which is associated with immune function, is that people that have more of a plant-based diet, consume more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, more fiber, they have a more diverse and robust microbiome. So the best thing you can do to have a good gut microbiome is to eat fiber. And that's going to come from fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, legumes. So I say, some of these probiotic supplements are like $30, $35 a month. You could better invest that into buying some good produce that is going to have more benefits in you in the long run.
Does some yogurt now contain probiotics?
Yeah, so most yogurt has two types of bacteria, lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, and that's what they use to culture to make the yogurt. So that's a naturally present probiotic. You can also get bacteria from, I always say this wrong, it's kefir, I believe, which is a fermented like milk, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi, those have probiotics in just making those foods. And that's a good way to introduce some probiotics without taking a supplement. So I definitely, foods first. Go ahead.
What are your thoughts about fermented food? You mentioned kefir, like sauerkraut, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, so those could be, again, like good sources of probiotics, and introducing some of those probiotics into your system. People that have a weakened immune system, which can often happen during treatment, it is generally not recommended to eat some of those fermented foods because of the amount of bacteria in them. Yeah, so we recommend that people with a weakened immune system, also pregnant women, to try to limit those foods just because that can introduce more bacteria and could cause introducing bacteria could cause illness, right?
Sure.
So, yeah.
Do you encourage people to carry hand sanitizers?
I have not made that recommendation, but I don't think it's a bad idea during the holidays, particularly if you're around kids who tend to like touch things and wipe their boogers and don't wash their hands. That keeping your hands clean is a really good safe measure, because think of like your hands are touching your mouth, your nose, your eyes, and that's a really easy way for bacteria to get into your body. So it's probably not a bad idea, but generally just washing your hands regularly is a good precaution as well.
If you had like one best food, what would that be?
One best food. That's a good question, because I think they're all great. Maybe I'll do food groups. I think fruits and vegetables, like I get asked sometimes, like, well, what's the best fruit? Like, or what's the best vegetable? If it's the one you're going to eat, like the best way to cook your vegetables, or the best vegetable to eat, is the way that you're going to eat it and the one you're going to eat. Sometimes you get coined like, oh, these superfoods, like goji berries were super popular. Then there's acai, like they just follow these types of trends. But all of the fruits and vegetables are really high in antioxidants, or some are higher than others in vitamin C, but they generally have similar nutrient content. But if I had to pick a fruit, if you really would put me on the spot, I would say berries. As a whole, as you can kind of see in this PowerPoint slide, these rich purples and blues have anthocyanins, which have immune boosting properties, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer activities, really high in vitamin C. And you can get a whole cup of berries, and they're only about 60 to 80 calories. So they're really low in calories, really, really high in lots of nutrients, but they're also a little more expensive. So that's why I'm like, you gotta like them all, because I generally like to follow what the price trends are. So, you know, we're in winter, so citrus is going to be really cheap. So that's the one I'm gonna pick. Okay. Berries were just kind of tail end season of that. They were really cheap, so I was eating those. Oh, apples are really cheap right now, so that's what I'm going to eat. And so usually following the price trends, because what's on sale in the produce aisle is generally what's in season. And so what's in season is going to have the richest nutrient content at that time, because they're fresh, they're fresher.
Now, I don't want to be the only one. Does anybody else have a question?
So I have a question. This is Donna Pinto. Hi, thank you. That was an excellent presentation. And that last piece of advice was great about what's on sale is in season. I kind of do the same thing, I realized. Yeah. But my question is, I've been studying nutrition also for a lot of years. I find a lot of people are conflicted with so many different resources and everything being said in opposition. Yeah. Do you have like recommended links or resources or go-to people that you kind of follow? I know I do. I was just wondering what you would say, or the groups of people or the mindsets.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know. I think that's a good question. And so many people are confused about it. And one of my favorite resources is the American Institute for Cancer Research. They're a nonprofit organization, and not only do they fund research around nutrition and physical activity, they have free programs about diet and physical activity for survivors. They have lots of consumer-friendly resources, and they base their recommendations and what they're discussing on research, on evidence. And they really do a good job of turning what's really complicated research into what are some, action items. What can you do? And they have a newsletter you can sign up for free. They send recipes. They discuss research articles. So they're my favorite resource when it comes to nutrition. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think anybody that I follow, myself, no. There's a oncology dietitian. Her Instagram is Oncology Nutrition Strong. And she posts a lot of great recipes and tips about eating well. I think she's really great and really, again, evidence-based. And that's something to think about. There's so many Instagram accounts, and honestly, I try to stay off following other people because it can sometimes make me angry when I see them talking about things that aren't evidence-based. But to look at people's credentials, right? Where are they getting this nutrition information from? And be really skeptical of those trying to sell you stuff. Unfortunately, I see in the cancer arena that a lot of people prey on this population, knowing that they're looking for this information. They're looking for, is there a supplement I should be taking or a recipe I should be following? So I always advise my patients to be really skeptical. Are they trying to sell me something, or are they really making recommendations based on experience and education, not just trying to make a buck off you?
Great.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions? Well, I think that you really kind of covered it all. I mean, one of the things that I'd seen as a tip is to focus on the little things and to focus on something you're grateful for. Well, I'm grateful to you for presenting this information, just taking the time to present this information to all of us. It's very helpful.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm grateful for the invitation. I always love the opportunity to talk about my favorite topic. So.
Well, it's really important.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a happy, healthy holiday season.
You too. Thank you.
If anybody wants to stay in a little bit of a group, a support group, we can do that. Donna and I will stay on.
All right. And I'll stop sharing the screen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Screen. I don't want to share my screen.
Just 1 second, the light went out in the office that I'm in. There we go.
I meant to put my camera on. Here I am.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to get out. Okay.
Yeah, I have to go pretty soon. I have another call in 5 minutes. So.
Well, that would be when we're just about done anyway. Oh, and just to let everybody know that we will not have a roundtable in December. Excuse me, the next one will be January 29th, and the topic will be how to ask for support, and Donna and I will be the presenters on that roundtable. So, yeah, I thought she was very good. Certainly there's eating healthy during the holidays is at best a challenge, and trying to find time to exercise and not get down on yourself.
One of the things I know I have done over the years, I'm very committed to myself and putting myself first and making sure I exercise and not just blowing it off, because I know that 2 weeks away from exercise makes a huge difference. It's hard to get back into it. So I think, like she was saying, even if it's just a walk or just find the time and, put yourself first. And the other thing is I always make, if I go to a party, I bring a salad or something I know I'm going to be happy eating or filling most of my plate with. So,
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And one of the other things that I found were one of the suggestions is to eat mindfully, which of course, you know, if you could always eat mindfully, that would be great, but especially during the holidays, try to slow down and enjoy and savor each bite. The slower you eat, you're obviously going to eat less. And if you can take 10 minutes after you've finished a plate before you go back for the second one, that's always a good sort of ploy.
that's good.
But it will be a challenge. I mean, it's all of those very rich foods, the pies, the gravies, the potatoes. And then we're not even talking about families.
Right. I don't tend to eat those things. So like I'll make my own roasted vegetables and everyone will go, what are you having? And I'll make enough for everyone. So I'm not swayed too much by the whole traditional food groups for the holidays, but I can see how it can be challenging.
Well, and I think that's just one element of the holidays too, because that people are with family that they're not necessarily with. These days, we have a fairly divided country. You could have some pretty heated discussions at dinner. So there's challenges on all sorts of levels.
This is true. That's where it's great to just stay silent.
Yeah,
Silent
I mean,
night, right? Start
Yeah.
singing Silent Night. Yeah.
Sure.
Some things are better left not discussed.
Yeah, but somebody's got that uncle who just can't hold their tongue.
Yeah.
And someone will have a cousin who's been listening to the hearings and will be all charged as well. So
Oh, yeah.
it'll be an interesting holiday time for lots of people, I'm sure.
Yes.
With food being only one of the challenges.
This is true. This is true. Well, we got to say our gratitude prayers, and that's the key. Like you just said, gratitude. You know, traditions of going around and saying what you're thankful for. That's one of the things I love about Thanksgiving. And
It's
try
truly
to
the
keep
essence of giving thanks, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, just keep it focused on that gratitude and then the light around the holidays. You know, I'm Jewish and my husband was brought up Catholic, and one year we were in a church for Mass for Christmas, and the priest said, what leads up to Christmas? And my little son, who was 3 years old at the time, was in the front. He raised his hand and he said, Hanukkah. And that was like the greatest like release of just, you know, just the joy of a child's view
Sure.
of, you know, bringing it all together. So just keeping it light.
Well, that's what we should do.
Yeah.
Well, we're just about done with the hour. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and I want to wish everyone a healthy and happy holiday. And when I talk to you next, it will be 2020.
Wow.
So enjoy yourself.
Thank
Be
you,
well.
Deb, for setting all these up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.